Peoria Public Schools Superintendent Grenada Lathan has officially resigned tonight. This comes just one day before the board was to discuss either terminating her contract or putting her on administrative leave. Dr. Lathan spoke to the media briefly this afternoon. The historic Madison Theater could soon see its second act, but that's not the only good news for this part of downtown Peoria. For the last year, residents in South Peoria had to travel across town or across the river to get to a grocery store, but the UFS store behind me has a solution to that problem. Bloomington police have finished their search of the Cargill plant here in Bloomington after a bomb threat was called in this afternoon. Police say nothing suspicious was found. Superintendent Grenada Lathan says the almost $12 million deficit could be reduced by more than half if Senate Bill 16 is passed. The Public Works manager says the city already has some of its salt supply for this season, and they're expecting more next month. But if the predictions are wrong and this winter is anything like last winter, they'll have to find ways to conserve that supply. The man was found here on the corner of Park Trail Road and Fast Avenue, and witnesses tell me it appears he had been dragged several hundred feet. The principal's time would be split between here at the Carlock Elementary School and here at the Towanda Elementary School, 16 miles away. In some areas of the Spindler campground, the water is as high as 8 feet, and here behind me is where about 50 people call home year-round. The chorus of powerful voices is growing this morning, demanding that the Confederate flag be removed from South Carolina State House grounds. The governor is among the latest to chime in on the debate in the wake of last week's racially motivated church massacre. The dashcam video shows the arrest of the man accused of opening fire inside a Charleston church last week. Halloween is bringing in the big bucks this year across America. You think of all the things you mess up in the kitchen and just throw away automatically. Yeah. Maybe we should really try them.
Rethink that, first. Yeah, you never know. Surprise.
Remember that time you wrote something disastrously personal but accidentally hit reply all and looped in everyone else? Well, good news. There's a way to reverse the damage. This is HOI 19 News at 10. Good evening. I'm Catherine Tellez. Eric Green has the night off. We'll get to those stories in a moment, but first, here's Storm Team 19 Chief Meteorologist Chuck Collins with your first look at the forecast. Chuck?
Well, Catherine.
A mystery tonight surrounding the disappearance of a local man who was last seen near the Mackinac River. According to the Woodford County Sheriff's Department, 24-year-old Abel Martinez was last seen around 5:30 last night. He was kayaking on the Mackinac River, where the river crosses U.S. Route 150. That's just east of Goodfield near the Mackinac Dells Bridge. Martinez was last seen on the shore. It's unknown how he went missing from there. Crews have been searching the land, river, and air since 8 this morning. They say there is a lot of debris in the river and it's unusually high, making conditions dangerous for kayaking. The search team has been using sonar and thermal imaging equipment to track Martinez as well as a canine dog, but they still haven't found him. 6 search and rescue teams throughout the state are now out. So far, they've searched more than 5 miles of water and land.
We're just doing everything in our power.
The Martinez family did not want to comment at this time. They were on scene earlier today helping with the search. The search ended at 8 o'clock tonight and will pick up again tomorrow morning. Now to a story that's developing tonight. The Louisville Slugger Sports Complex, set to open today, is still not finished. The construction delay resulted in cancellations for the June book. HOI 19 Samantha Chapman tells us how Peoria's economy could be striking out. Sam?
Officials at the
This summer could be a long and hot one for Governor Bruce Rauner and the General Assembly. The Republican governor and Democrat leaders are deadlocked on a budget for the next fiscal year that begins July 1st. House Democrats came out with their $36 billion spending plan over the weekend. But Governor Rauner has said he will not sign it because it's $3 billion over next year's estimated tax revenue. One House Republican who voted against it says Rauner wants to compromise with his reform plan.
The only real
Some of the governor's reforms include a property tax freeze and workers' comp reform. House members are scheduled to return to Springfield Thursday, and the Senate is scheduled to return June 9th. Former U.S. House Speaker Dennis Hastert will be arraigned this week. The Illinois Republican is scheduled to be arraigned Thursday in U.S. District Court in Chicago on one count of evading bank regulations. Hastert is charged in connection with a scheme to pay more than $3 million of apparent hush money to someone and then lying to the FBI about it. If convicted, Hastert faces a $250,000 fine and a maximum 5-year prison sentence on each of the 2 bank regulation counts. In HOI News follow-up now, Terrence Dottie will spend life in prison for the murder of Tanya Bargman. Dottie led a statewide manhunt after he was suspected of killing a coworker in Rockford last June. While on the run, he killed Tanya Bargman at a rest stop. Dottie was sentenced today by a judge in Lee County. He did not appear at the sentencing because he said he did not want to face Bargman's family. Each week, HOI 19 News teams up with local law enforcement to get wanted fugitives off the streets. This week, the Peoria County Sheriff's Department is looking for 27-year-old Janisha Daniel. She's wanted on battery, retail theft, and cannabis possession charges. Daniel is 5'9" and weighs 300 pounds. Her last known address was in the 700 block of West Hamilton in Peoria. If you know Daniel's whereabouts, you're asked to call the Peoria County Sheriff. For more on other fugitives featured on Manhunt Monday, head to CINewsNow.com. A machinery fire at Caterpillar's KK plant in East Peoria sent emergency crews rushing to the facility early this morning. The report originally came in as a roof fire around 5 o'clock. CAT evacuated workers for about an hour while East Peoria firefighters and the company's own emergency team responded to the flames. No one was hurt. A company spokesperson says there was only limited damage. A fire that destroyed a business on Peoria's south side is being investigated as arson. The fire broke out this morning around 1 o'clock at 309 Auto Care. The business is located on Southwestern Avenue. Police believe the fire was started after a burglary. 2 TVs and a computer were reportedly stolen from the business before the fire. The owner of the building says no one was inside when he left around midnight. The building is considered a total loss. An alarming lapse involving those charged with protecting the planes we fly on. ABC News breaking the story. A new report. The TSA failing undercover tests, mock explosives and weapons smuggled through airport security checkpoints. Tonight, the urgent new concern, are we safe? ABC's senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas has more. The Supreme Court has thrown out the case of a man convicted of making threats on Facebook. In 2010, Anthony Alonis of Pennsylvania posted rants on Facebook in the form of rap lyrics about killing his estranged wife and harming law enforcement officials. He spent 44 months in a federal prison after he was convicted of a federal law that bans illegal threats. Alonis appealed, saying his lyrics were fictitious. His lawyers argued the rap lyrics were protected by the First Amendment, and he didn't intend for his comments to be threatening. Today, Chief Justice John Roberts said it was not enough for prosecutors to show that the comments of Anthony Alonis would make a reasonable person feel threatened. At least 31 people have died in Texas and Oklahoma from the flooding, and at least 10 are still missing. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has toured some flood recovery centers and warned against price gouging and cleanup scams. Paxton visited emergency and volunteer centers in San Marcos and Wimberley, some of the hardest hit areas of recent deadly flooding. 70 Texas counties are under a state disaster declaration. More than 30 people were killed in Texas and Oklahoma last month by storms that dropped record rainfall. Bruce Jenner, now known as Caitlyn Jenner, is gracing the cover of Vanity Fair. Jenner spoke with the magazine chronicling her transgender transformation from man to woman. The account includes recent surgeries to feminize her face and a perspective on the life in the open. Caitlyn says Bruce Jenner was always telling lies, and now she says Caitlyn doesn't have any. Another person has joined the race to become the Republican nominee for president in 2016. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has launched his bid for the White House. Graham retired from the Air Force Reserve last month after serving for 33 years, and he's been a senator since 2002. Graham promised a strong national defense if elected, vowing to not just disable our enemies, but to defeat them. Still ahead on HOI 19 News at 10, Uber wants you to get involved to help bring its services to Peoria. And bicyclists in Normal are about to get a lesson in sharing the road with drivers.
You're watching.
Officer Derek Thomas was on duty that day. He spotted the tornado and drove towards it, desperately wanting to help. Moments later, he saw someone trying to outrun it.
When I saw him, he was waving his arms. He told me he had tried to knock on people's doors and get them to stop, but they just drove right past. And so he ran to my car and hoped I could get him somewhere where the tornado was not.
Thomas got him to safety and raced back to help others. On this day, we revisited that spot. Thomas still struggles to understand all of it.
In the beginning, it was just me. I just try and do what you can with who you can. You know, I mean, I'm not Superman. I can't save everybody, but I was going to do my best to save whoever I could.
Meanwhile, on the other side of town, another officer's house was heavily damaged in the tornado. But that didn't stop this East Peoria officer from helping others.
All I heard were people screaming outside. help me looking for people, making sure that their families are okay. So my first instinct was just throw on a pair of boots, and I took off outside.
In the days that followed, both officers worked round-the-clock shifts, making sure what wasn't lost stayed protected. Something Swearingen says hit close to home. Not only you were affected, but you're out and you're working and you're watching other people's homes that were affected. It just means a little bit more to you, I think, knowing that you went through it as well. And while it may be a year later, it's a day these first responders will never forget. Even a high, strong gust of wind at times, you kind of think about it a little bit differently.
Every time I drive through here, I remember that day, because had I decided not to go down there, not to go see what people were talking about, ignore them, you know, go back to reports or whatever, it could end differently. So it's a heavy feeling.
A local AME church is mourning the loss of their family after they were murdered in the one place everyone should feel safe.
I heard Emmanuel AME Church, and I stopped in my tracks.
Reverend Elaine Gordon is the pastor at Peoria's Ward Chapel AME Church. She says the AME family is a tight-knit group whose members know each other across the world. Reverend Gordon says knowing it happened inside a church, a place that opens its doors to everyone, makes her feel vulnerable.
We are called to embrace whosoever will. You know, the statement, let them come. And so those people let him come. He was there for over an hour in their midst. They felt comfortable, and then tragedy struck.
And she adds, while what happened was a tragedy, it's also important to remember what has come out of it.
I was really blessed by Mother Emmanuel's call for everyone to hold fast to their faith. I was also blessed to see the community rally across color lines, across political lines.
Reverend Gordon says while the shooter may have been trying to create a racial divide, he didn't win.
This is the worst of times, yet it's the best of times, in the sense that out of bad is always that opportunity to do good.
The pastor says this tragedy creates a moral and ethical dilemma for just how open a church can afford to be, and says this has created a discussion about the level of security inside their church. Back to you. The three-day festival was supposed to run July 17th through the 19th, featuring some of the biggest names in country music like Keith Urban and Toby Keith. The event was slated to bring tens of thousands of people to Chillicothe and money into the local economy. Rumors about the fate of the Country Life Music Festival were confirmed Tuesday. It's canceled. Vendors, ticket holders, sponsors, and workers all out hundreds, if not thousands of dollars with no explanation.
Well, when I first heard the rumor, I thought maybe, you know, it was just something going on Facebook, and then I heard the actual announcement. I just thought about how inappropriate it is, and my personal opinion, it's a pretty good way to not have anyone, you know, come out to future festivals.
The Country Life Music Festival was moved here this year to Three Sisters Park in Chillicothe because of the large number of people expected to attend. Now all those people have tickets, and the show has been canceled.
It paints a very bad picture for the area. It paints a very bad picture for Blue Entertainment. $300 could go a long way. I mean, we had a newborn, so any little bit's going to help us, and we saved up from last year because we didn't attend. Now that it's canceled, it is disappointing, but that money needs to come back to us.
Ticket holders say they hope the company does the right thing by refunding their money, but for now it's a waiting game. Blue Entertainment was once again donating a portion of the proceeds to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. The regional director says they did receive a donation last year, but they have not received any money for this year's event. We asked what you thought about the cancellation on Facebook. Donna said, "The ticket states no refund. Me and thousands of people are out of money. I bought 10 as Christmas presents, $990.30 to be exact." Jesse says, "Get the word out there, though, about his shady, unethical company. Blue Entertainment, you should be held 110% responsible." We want to hear your comments. Join in on the conversation on our Facebook page. Back to you.